So welcome back guys after this break, and we are on the second last topic of our interest rate risk management chapter. We are going to start with the interest rate options. We have completed with the forward rate agreement. We have completed with the interest rate futures. Now is the time for the interest rate options. Now let me tell you, this interest rate options is very easy, sir. We have done everything in the forward rate agreement itself. The only difference from the forward rate agreement is that we will have the option at expiry. We will have the option at expiry whether we want to exercise the agreed rate or not. That's it. This is going to be that simple. Okay. So what happens in the interest rate options is that again there will be a two situation: borrowing and investment. The borrower will have the risk of rising interest rate and he wants to put a limit to that. Suppose, let's start with this example here. Okay, this is interest rate option. Now we'll start on the next page itself. Interest rate. There are two situations. It might happen that we want to borrow or invest. If we want to borrow, the risk is rising interest rate. Am I right? If we want to invest, the risk is falling interest rate. And rising interest rate will look like this. Okay, and the falling interest rate will look like this. Okay. We want to put a limit. This will be called as upper limit. See, why we would want to put an upper limit to the interest rate, not the lower one? Because the lower the interest rate goes, the lower the interest rate will go, it will be better for us, that we will be paying less interest on the borrowings. So we are on a profit side if the interest rates are going down. It's a good side for us. But the bad side is if the interest rates are going up, and that's where we want to put a limit. The limit will be like this. This is called as a limit. We want to put a limit on the upper side. That I'm just explaining it in a plain method. If the interest rate goes above this rate, this is the decided rate. If the interest rate goes above this in the spot market, I'm going to borrow. See, this is all about the derivatives. In reality, what will happen, I will tell you. If you are going to borrow, you will have to pay the ongoing interest rate. So you might be at any point on this line. So it might happen that the interest rate are this and you are paying this much. Interest rates are this, you are paying this much to the bank, and interest rates are this, you are paying this much to the bank. At any point of time, the spot rate will be the interest that you will be paying to the bank for the borrowings. But on the other side, you have already made a contract with some party, okay? In that you have bought this option. You have bought this option that gives you the right to exercise. Okay. So the agreement between you two parties in the derivatives market is, if the interest rate with the bank goes above this limit, then the balance or then the extra that I am paying on the borrowing to the bank will be paid back by you to me. So the extra amount will be gain for me in the interest rate option, because that's the amount that I'm paying extra on the other side. So the only thing is, this is going to be the limit. Whatever I'm paying above this limit to the bank will be paid back by the option seller to me. And obviously he is giving me a guarantee that the interest rate will not go beyond this, and if it goes beyond this, I will make sure to compensate you. I am insuring you. So this is a kind of an insurance that I am buying, that my at any point of time my interest cost will not go beyond this. If the interest rate is this, I will pay this much of the interest. Option seller will do nothing. I will also do nothing. I will exercise the option only when the interest rate in the spot market goes beyond this limit. And then only I will have to ask the option seller to reimburse me the difference that I paid. But if I'm paying this much of the amount to the bank, then it's all fine because it is under the limit. So whatever I'm paying under the limit, the option will not get exercised at this limit. Option will only be exercised at this limit in this area. So this is a non-exercise phase, not exercised, and this is going to be exercised phase if it goes beyond that. This type of option is called as cap option. And obviously we have to pay the premium for this. We'll decide about this later on. And let's come to the other side. What happens when you invest money in the floating interest rate at this point and the interest rate keeps going down? What happens is that when the moment interest rate goes down, you will receive less interest income, because you have investment. Interest is your income and you don't like it going down. So what will happen at this point? You will put a limit on the lower side. On the lower side, you want to put a limit that the minimum the interest should be at this level. So let's put a limit here. What you want is that this much should be the minimum interest that I should get. Okay, so first let me write down what is going to happen. We want to put a limit again, but this time it will be on a lower side, lower limit, and this is called as the floor option. In order to buy both the types of option, we have to pay the premium to option seller. That's it. Option seller is going to ensure in cap option that the upper limit is fixed, and if the spot rate is going beyond this limit, then option seller has the responsibility to reimburse us. We only have the right. Again, in the investment, option seller is putting a limit, a lower limit. Option seller is putting a lower limit. So what will happen if the spot rate goes to this point? Let's say the spot rate goes to this point, we will receive this much of the interest. Let's put a number here and it will be better, I think. Let's say this is called as the strike rate of 4%. Okay. And if the market rate goes to 3%, what will happen? I will receive interest on my investment at 3%. But we had an agreement with the option seller that the interest rate will not go below this. And if it goes below this, it's the responsibility of the option seller to reimburse me or to compensate me for the difference. So how much do you think the option seller is going to pay me? 1%. It is the difference between the strike price and the spot price. Do you remember the derivatives? Option, call put, K minus S in case of put option. So this is kind of a put option. And let's say the higher side in this case is 10%. So 10% is the limit. And if the actual rate goes to, let's say 12%, so that will be 12%, and this is K. So what is the payoff in cap option? S minus K. Payoff. Maximum of S minus K or 0. Maximum of this or 0. Suppose, let's say in this question, what will be S minus K is 2%. So 2% or 0, what is the maximum? 2. So payoff will be 2%. Who is going to pay that? Option seller will pay us because we are the buyer of the option. Okay. Let's say, for example, the interest rate goes to 7%. That means I'm paying only 7% of the interest on my borrowings. So 7% is the spot rate. 7 minus 10. S minus K. 7 minus 10 is minus 3 or 0. What is the maximum? 0. So the payoff will be 0. Option seller will not pay anything. So option seller will not pay anything if the spot rate lies on this area. Option seller will pay me only if it goes beyond the decided rate. In cap option, option seller will pay me only if it goes below the decided rate in floor option. That's it. So what will be the payoff in case of floor option? Let me just write it down. It will be maximum of K minus S or 0. It's simple. Same was the payoff formula for call and put option. For call and put option, instead of call and put, you have cap and floor option. Exactly same. Do you get that? To sum up, this is the only thing that you need to learn. Okay. There is one more type of option which is called as caller option. What happens in the caller option is that it's more or less a strategy. Caller is a strategy, mostly hedging strategy. Okay. What happens in that is you buy cap and then you sell floor. So when you buy cap, you get the right. That means you pay the premium. When you sell any kind of an option, whether it is cap or floor, you receive the premium. Let's say the premium is 0.1%, 0.1%. So the net premium is 0. This is called as zero cost collar. Means in order to create this type of situation or a strategy, it didn't cost us anything because whatever we paid was received by us in the floor option. This is called as zero cost collar. Okay. Another situation. I will just explain that and I will just, there are two different types of collars. Let me just present it in a better way. So what happens in the collar strategy? See, when we are sure of, or we can say confident of interest rate to rise and fall. See, if we are confident that the interest rate will go up in the market, okay, so what type of option we should buy? We should put a limit, upper limit, okay, on the interest rate. Why? See, if we are going to borrow, we have this risk. If we are confident that the interest rates are going to rise in the market, it's better to put a limit. So the option that you will borrow here is buy cap. And in this case, what will happen? The option that you will buys buy floor. Why? It's obvious that if you are confident about the rise in the interest rate, let's say for example you are confident that the interest rate will go to 12% rise, right? 12%, and you are buying a cap with a strike price of 10. So let me just explain it like this. Let's say it is going to 12%, and in fact this is the spot rate of 12%, and you are very much sure that the interest rate are going to go to 12%, and you buy a cap option at 10%. What will happen? S minus K, 12 minus 10, 2%, which is more than 0. This will be your profit in the cap option if the market goes like this. But what you can do along with this is, sell a floor option. Sell a floor option, let's say at a rate of 6%. And in this case, you are not getting the insurance. You are providing the insurance to someone else that if the spot rate goes below 6%, then I am going to compensate you. So you are going to be responsible in this case. You have the right but not the obligation when you are buying an option. But you have the obligation when you are selling an option. So in this case, you are giving the insurance to someone else that if the interest rate goes below 6%, whatever is the difference, you will compensate to the other party. You are doing this. Tell me one thing. Why you are doing this? You are doing this only for the purpose of earning premium. Understand one thing. The option seller's only income is the premium. Other than that, if there is any cash flow, it will be a loss to him. On expiry, what will happen? Just imagine. If we have created option like this, on expiry, what will happen? Let's say the market rate goes according to our expectation and it is 12%. So S minus K is 2%, which is the maximum more than 0. We will get 2% receipt in this case. Profit, right? Profit. But do you think the market rate has gone below 6%? No. Then this option will get lapsed. The other party, the buyer of the floor, will not exercise this option, and the cash flow in this option to us at expiry will be 0. And we knew that in the very beginning because we were confident about the rise in the interest rate. So what will happen at expiry? At expiry, if the interest rate goes to 12%, let's say, at expiry there will be two things. Interest rate will either go according to our expectation or against expectation. Okay, what will happen? I will just show you the magic. So if it goes according to our expectations, that means the spot rate will be around 12%. And we have two different positions which needs to be closed. We have bought a cap option where someone else promised us that the rate won't go beyond 10%, and it has gone beyond 10% to 12%. So the receipt in the cap option will be, you will have a cap receipt, or we can say you will exercise the cap option and there will be a receipt in the cap option of 2%. Okay, or let me write it this way. There are two options, cap and floor. Cap option will get exercised, and if it gets exercised, you are the buyer, you will get a receipt of 2%, 12 minus 10. But floor option will not be exercised, because in order to exercise the floor option, the rate should go below 6% and it is already above. So this option will expire, will lapse. So what will happen to this? It will lapse and there is no cash outflow or inflow in this. So what will happen at the end is you have a profit of 2%. This is going to go. But if the rate does not go according to your expectation, then the bad things will happen to you. Just imagine if the rate goes to 3%. If the rate goes to 3%, cap and floor, your cap option will get lapsed. Why? Because in order to exercise the cap option, there was a condition that the interest rate should go beyond 10%. It is already at 3%. So it will lapse. You will not get any kind of a receipt. Okay. But in case of floor option, it will be a payment to you. It will be exercised by the other party. And since it is being exercised by the buyer of the option, we are the seller. Buyer of the option, you will have to make some payment. That will be the difference between the spot and the strike price, which is 3% of the loss. So you will lose 3% in that case. So it is very much important that if you are creating a collar like this, a collar is nothing but a combination of cap and floor in this manner. Buying a cap and selling a floor creates a collar, and collar has this situation. So mostly this will happen if your expectation and the interest rate changes are same. Okay, understood this thing? And what will happen when you buy the cap? Let's say for example, when you buy the cap, you pay the premium of 0.10%. When you sell the floor, you receive the premium of 0.10%. And the net is 0. Do you get that? Now what happens on the other side? When we are confident of interest rate to fall, we will make sure that we put a limit on the lower side, buy floor, because we know that the interest rate will go below this. So we are putting a lower limit. The lower limit, let's say, is K is equal to 6%. And then we will make sure we sell a cap option where the strike rate is 10%. Okay. You have bought a floor option. You are the buyer of the option. You will pay the premium. And in this case, you are the seller of the option. Doesn't matter which option you are buying or selling, which option you are selling, you are the seller. That means you will receive the premium. The premium will be an inflow for you. Let's say the premium for both is 0.10%. Again, it will come to 0. This type of collar is called as zero cost collar. This will be called as zero cost collar. Where you have created two different situations in the interest rate option without paying a single rupee from your pocket, because whatever you received in selling the floor, you paid in buying the cap, or in this case, whatever you received in selling the cap, you paid in buying the floor. Now let's analyze this other situation. What will happen at expiry in this case? Space will be a problem, I think. Let's try. At expiry, it all depends upon the interest rate. Interest rate goes according to your expectation. Or against your expectation. Okay. So if it goes according to our expectation, what will happen? See, we expected the interest rate to fall. So if it goes according to our expectation, it should fall. Let's say it has gone down to 3%. And if it goes against our expectation, it might go up to 12%. I'm keeping the interest rate same so that it's easy for me to explain. Now, if it goes according to our expectation, see, in this case, what was the situation? We had a buy cap sell floor option. We had a buy cap sell floor option. In this case, we have a different position. Cap, floor, cap, floor. I have space constraint. So I have sold the cap, bought the floor, sold the cap, bought the floor. So whenever I am selling a cap option, I have the responsibility to make the payment. I will only have a payment at the expiry. I can't have an income on that side. So you can clearly see that in case of a selling floor option, you either have 0 or -3. So there can be only loss in the selling option. So in this case, in cap option, there can be only loss or 0. So what will happen if it has gone to 3%? If it goes to 3%, I had bought a floor option, and in that the rate should not go below. Floor option means below 6%. If it has gone below 6%, yes sir, it has gone below 6%, that means the floor option will get exercised. This will get exercised and I will receive the difference amount, that is 3%. And this cap option will not get exercised, because in order to get the cap option exercised, the rate should go beyond 10%. It has gone to 3%. It's not beyond 10. So this option will not get exercised and we will call it as lapsed. There will be no payoff in this case, right? I will just remove it for the time being. If it goes against our expectation, what will happen? I have sold the cap option. The rate was 10%. The agreed rate was 10% and it has gone beyond 10%. That means the buyer of the cap option, I am the seller. The buyer of the cap option will exercise his right and he will come to me to ask for the difference amount and I will have to make the payment. In this case, what is happening? Cap option is being exercised, floor will not be exercised, and there will be a payment of 2%. If the floor option is not exercised, it will lapse and there will be 0. So this is what will happen in each of the cases. So this is a happier side, means you will have some profit in this case. You will have profit only when the rate goes according to your expectation. So you can see clearly that you will end up with a profit in both the cases where the rate goes according to your expectation. But if you will end up with a loss in both the cases if the rate goes against your expectation. So nevertheless, this is how we create a zero cost collar. Creating a collar strategy does not require an understanding about the new concept. The concept is same, cap option and floor option. So let me summarize before moving over to the questions. At the very beginning, it's all about the interest rate. We have the entire chapter on it, man. Okay, interest rate. If we want to borrow money, the risk is the rise in interest rate. That if the interest rate goes up, we will have to unnecessarily pay higher interest amount. And to avoid that risk, we want to put a limit, that there might be certain limit, upper limit of paying the interest rate. I can pay up to 10%, not more than that. I don't want to pay more than that. So today I'm going to borrow after 3 months, and I know that after 3 months the market can go up or beyond 12% or 10%. So what I did today is that for the time that I'm going to borrow, what I did today is that today itself I bought a cap option. So we want to put a limit or upper limit, and I bought a cap option, buy cap option. So I will just make sure I write down this thing, buy cap option. Buy, you are the buyer of the option, holder of the option, and when you buy the cap option you pay the premium to the option seller. This is the only income for the option seller, and this is the only expense for the option buyer. More than that you will not lose anything. Okay, at the expiry, if since you have put a upper limit at the expiry or at the expiry of the option or at the time of taking the loan, if the spot rate goes beyond the decided rate, you will surely take the loan at the ongoing rate, that is 12%, but the balance or the difference will be paid back to you by the option seller. That's his loss. 12 minus 10, right? Okay. The other case is related to investment. When you invest at a floating rate, the risk is the falling interest rate. If the rate falls below a certain level, you will lose on the interest amount, and you don't want to receive lesser interest. So what you want to do is you want to put a limit on this, that minimum to minimum I want 4%. In this case, maximum to maximum I wanted to pay 10%. Pay because of the borrowing, receive because of the investment. So minimum I want to receive 4%. What you did is that the investment was like 3 months away from today. So what you did is you today went to the option seller. You said that I want to buy floor option. In both the cases you are the buyer. You want to buy floor option means that you will get a right to exercise the option if the spot rate goes below the agreed rate. Spot rate goes beyond the agreed rate in this case, below the agreed rate in this case. Okay. If the actual rate goes below 4%, I will receive the interest income at 3%, and since it is less, I will get the balance or the difference from the option seller, and that's for those purposes we have paid a premium to the option seller. Please understand one thing. If the interest rate in both the cases does not go according to your expectation, the loss for the buyer is only premium, only to the extent of premium. Premium is the maximum loss to the buyer, whether you buy a cap option or a floor option. It's all as good as call and put option. So this is how you get a right to exercise. Cool? And this collar strategy is normal. We will just discuss with the questions itself. Let's come to the questions part. It's going to be an interesting because I have explained more than what I thought I will be explaining. Okay, sir. This is going to be question number 22. Suppose that 1 year cap has a rate of 8%. Now understand, this is 1 year cap option, means upper limit. 8% is the strike rate. In this case, it is not a strike price, it is a strike rate. And a notional amount of 100 crore. What does that mean? If you buy this option and in the interest rate goes beyond 8% now, you will get the difference. If you sell the option and the interest rate goes beyond this, you will pay the difference. Buyer will receive, seller will pay the difference. Okay. The frequency of settlement is quarterly. Every quarter you are going to compare the rates and you are going to make the settlement. So mostly the rates are per annum, but settlement will happen quarterly. Quarterly comparison, quarterly settlement. And the reference rate is 3-month MIBOR. Reference rate is 3-month MIBOR. With this rate, you are going to compare the strike rate. Okay. Assume that the 3-month MIBOR for the next 4 quarters. 3-month MIBOR for the next 4 quarters are this, but please ensure per annum, per annum, per annum, per annum. Now you might ask, sir, when it is clearly given that the rates are for 3 months, how can you write per annum in front of the rates? I can do that, not because I have the right, this is my pencil, this is my iPad, I can do anything. No. This is not the reason. It's very simple. 3-month MIBOR means, please understand the meaning of that. Per annum rate if you borrow for 3 months. That is what the meaning is. 3 months MIBOR means per annum rate if you borrow for 3 months. 6 months LIBOR means per annum rate if you borrow for 6 months. Understand the meaning. This is the loan period. This is the loan period, not the period of the rate. The rates are normally quoted always in 1 year, that per annum. Okay. So this is a cap option. The very first thing that you should write in your paper is that the payoff will be like this: maximum of spot minus K. In cap it is S minus K. In floor it is K minus S or 0. So you can just simply put this and you will get a answer. So what I am going to do is 8.7 spot I have to keep first now. So I will just write it like this: S minus 8888. So I can clearly see that 0.70%, 0, 0, 0.20. See, I can see that the spot price is lesser than strike price. The answer will be negative and the payoff will be maximum of negative and 0, 0. So that's why I have written 0, maximum of negative and 0. 8 minus 8 to 0. This is also 0. This is going to be 0.20. So there are only two payoffs for the cap buyer. This is the profit to the cap buyer for the cap buyer, and this is the loss to the cap seller. Understand, at expiry there cannot be a profit to the seller. There can only be 0 or loss to the seller. At expiry there can only be a profit or 0 payoff to the buyer. Okay. Now what are you going to do? Understand the situation. These are quarterly settlement. This is per annum rate. This is per annum rate. So the difference is also per annum. But when you apply it on 100 crore, make sure you convert that at the end in quarter. 0.70% into 3 by 12. Let's have a look. I think they have done it like this. I will just make sure I will do the calculation. So in the first case it is 100 crore into I will write it here, 100 crore into 0.70% again into 3 by 12. So that comes to 0.175 crore, which is 17,50,000. Again 100% in 100 crore into 0.20% into 3 by 12. So 20 lakhs divided by 4, 5 lakhs. Do you get that? Okay, let's come to the next question now. Question number 23. A textile manufacturer has taken floating interest rate loan of 40 lakhs on 1st April 2012. Already, my friends. The rate of interest at the inception of loan, at the start of the loan, was 8.5% per annum. Interest is to be paid every year on 31st March. Annual interest, unlike the previous question which had quarterly interest. Okay. And the duration of loan is 4 years from 1st April 2012. So you can just clear few things. Whatever the question number is, 23, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4. Am I right? So this is April 2012. 1, 4, 12. 1, 4, 13. 1, 4, 14. 1, 4, 15. 1, 4, 16. Okay, sir. Now 8.5%. Per annum interest is to be paid every year on 31st March and the duration of the loan is 4 years. In the month of October 2012, am I right? Okay, sir. The central bank of the country releases the following projections about the interest rate likely to prevail in future. about the future rates. On 31st March 2013, oh, it's March na. So October means just after half year. So first till September, from April to September, it's 6 months. So October is here. So on this date, the future rates were declared. The future rates were like this for 31st March. Okay, so every day matters, man. So it's better to write down 31st March 13, 31st March 14, March 15, 16. So the projections according to the central bank is this. On 31st March 2013, the rates will be 8.75, 10, 10.5. Let me just write down 8.75, 10, 10.5 and 7.75. So these are going to be the rates on that days. Okay. Show how this borrowing can hedge. This borrowing can hedge the risk arising out of the expected rise in the interest rate when he wants to peg, limit. What is the meaning of peg? Limit his interest cost at 8.5% per annum. This is going to be an answer in terms of a statement where you will write that we can do the hedging by taking a cap option whose strike price is 8.5%. So whenever the rates goes beyond 8.5%, we will get the extra amount. You can clearly see in the second and the third, 10 and 10.5%. That means in the year 2014 and 15, the rates are going beyond 8.5%. And in that case, we will have a payoff. We will see a payoff. So this is how you will have to explain in the entire statement. See, I will just make sure I'll read it for you. As a borrower does not want to pay more than 8.5%, he wants to put a limit on that. On this loan, where the rate of interest is likely to rise beyond this, hence he has hedged the risk by entering into an agreement to buy interest rate caps with the following parameters. So the details of the agreement has been given here, that the notional principal decided in the cap option will be 40 lakhs. Why the notional principal is 40 lakhs? Because in the spot market, the actual principal is 40 lakhs to us. Strike rate will be 8.5% per annum. This is going to be the strike rate of the cap option. That means if the floating rate goes beyond this floating rate, then we will get a receipt. Reference rate is the rate of interest applicable to this loan. So whatever the interest rate was, it means that on whatever basis this rate was decided, MIBOR, LIBOR, whatever factor, it will be the same in the cap option. Calculation and settlement will happen on 31st March every year because I have to pay interest on the same date. Duration of the caps is till 31st March 2016 because this is the last day when I will be paying the interest on my borrowings, repayment. So till that date, I want to continue the cap option. That means the insurance. Premium will be negotiable between both the parties. Why it will be negotiable? Because the details of the same is not given to you in the question. To purchase the cap, this borrower is required to pay the premium upfront at the time of buying the caps. That means the premium will be paid here. What happens in the insurance? If you buy an insurance for entire year, you pay the premium at the beginning. You can also have an option to pay the premium for 3 years. So what you can do is you can pay the premium for 3 years at a stretch. In this question, what has happened? You are paying the premium for the next 3 years, 3.5 years almost. And you are covering almost almost 4 dates in that. So practically speaking, it is going to be a premium for 4 years. Even though you are paying here, but still actual date of the first year goes to here. So if you cover this date, that means you are covering for the entire year. So premium can be paid every year or at once. Every year or at once. It depends upon question to question. The payment of such premium will entitle him with the right to receive the compensation from the seller of the caps. Seller has the responsibility to compensate the buyer. Okay. As soon as the rate of interest on this loan rises above 8.5%. So I'm not going to explain this. Entire statement explains what the cap option is. Actual calculations are there in the second part of the question, which starts from here. Okay, let's move on to the second part now. Assume that the premium negotiated by both the parties is 0.75% to be paid on 1st October 2012. So 0.75% of 40 lakhs. It is always on the principal amount, notional principal amount. So 40 lakhs into 0.75% comes to 30,000 rupees is the insurance. And the actual rate of interest on the respective due dates is this. Actual rates has changed. So practically speaking, these rates are not useful to you because it was in the first part. The rates which are useful to you is in the second part. Now let me just show you what has happened. First of all, you paid the premium on this date. 40 lakhs multiplied by 0.75%, 30,000 outflow of premium. Afterwards, the spot rates are given here and this is the strike rate. We will compare every time. Spot rates are, let's take the spot rates once again. 31st March 2013, 10.2%, 11.5%, 10.2%, 11.5%, 9.25 and 8.25. Okay. Show how the settlement will be executed on the respective interest due date. It's very easy, sir. The strike rate of the cap option that you have bought was 8.5%, right? And the cap option says that if the spot rate goes beyond this, then you will have a payoff. Otherwise, the option will not be exercised. So we will just write here, action. We are going to exercise the option in these three cases, and the option will not be exercised in this case because the spot rate is lower than 8.5. So it's a good news for us. There is no need for the option. But in all these three cases, you can see that we are paying much more than 8.5% to the bank in terms of interest. And we have the right to get that compensated by the seller. How much? So the difference between these. How to calculate that? It's very simple. 10.2 minus 8.50. That's 1.7. And the calculations are annual, so you don't have to worry about it. 1.7% payoff. That's 3% and 0.75%. So these are going to be the payoff in terms of rupees. It will be applicable on the principal, notional principal, 40 lakhs. You can write it in table also, need not be in this format. The format can change anytime. $68,000, 1,20,000 and 30,000. Let's check the answer. Do you get that? Over. The story is over. By just paying 30,000 rupees, you are receiving this much amount on the respective dates. You paid this much, 68, 120, 30 is received by you. That's why I highlighted so that I can complete the question easily. Okay, I don't have to find out in the answer and waste the time now. Even this is applicable for you also. Now you can cross check your answer easily without looking or going into the entire statement. Time matters, man. On 31st March 2016, the buyer of the caps will not receive any compensation because the option did not get exercised. Okay, cool. Thus, by paying a premium upfront, buyer of the caps get the compensation on the respective interest due dates without any obligation because he has bought the option. Let's have a look on question number 24. Okay. XYZ Limited borrows 15 million pound. Pound is the currency of United Kingdom. We also call it as England or Great Britain of England. So Great Britain of England? No. It's Great Britain only. United Kingdom, Great Britain or England. So this pound has a code in the international market called as GBP. It's called as Great Britain Pound. So XYZ Limited has borrowed this much of the money. 1 million has zero. How many zeros? 6 zeros. Of 6 months LIBOR plus 10%. This is 6 months LIBOR for a period of 24 months. So understand that 6 months means this is the compounding, or we can say interest payment dates, semi-annual payment. LIBOR plus 10% is the loan rate. So what the bank has given to XYZ Limited is whatever will be the LIBOR after every 6 months, that will be applicable plus 10%. So 10% is fixed for all the period, for a period of 24 months. So there will be four times you will be making interest payments to the bank. The company anticipates a rise in LIBOR. See, hedging is done as against uncertainty for the future. So we will be hedging this LIBOR, not the 10%. So you need to understand this concept that if I'm going to pay interest for all the 4 semi-annual periods, I will be paying LIBOR plus 10%, LIBOR plus 10%, LIBOR plus 10%, LIBOR plus 10%. And by standing at this date itself, I know that 10% is fixed every 6 months. So this will never be covered under, this cannot be covered under any kind of a derivative contract. Whatever the derivative contract or the cap option that you are going to buy, only the LIBOR will be covered in that. So if the LIBOR comes to, let's read it first. If the cap option, here it is given, hence it proposes to buy a cap option from its banker at the strike rate of 8%. So what has happened? You are putting a limit to the interest rate in the cap option. Since you are buying it, you will pay the premium. You have the right, and the right is 8% should be the rate. So 8% strike rate is to be compared with something which is uncertain today itself. 10% in this entire L plus 10 is fixed and known to both the parties, the buyer of the cap and the seller of the cap. No cap seller will give you a cap option at 8% when he knows that 10% is already there. So for all the 4 quarters or for all the 4 semi-annual periods, 2% is already a payoff from his side. So that's not going to happen. Understand that it is not taken on the fixed amount, which is known already. So 8% has to be compared only with the LIBOR. It is the cap option where we are promising that the interest rate, where the seller is promising that the interest rate won't go beyond 8%, and if it goes beyond 8%, I will compensate for the same. So the interest rate that he is talking about is the LIBOR only. The lump sum premium is 1% for the entire reset periods. So you can make an upfront premium of 1% today itself. 1% of this amount, 15 million. So if you want to calculate, it will be like this: 15, 666, 6 zeros into 1%. That's 1,50,000. If you want to make the payment today itself. Now there is some trick in this question. The fixed rate of interest is 7% per annum. Every year the rate is 7%. So this is going to be a borrowing rate if you want to borrow or discount for other purposes. The actual position of the LIBOR during the forthcoming reset period. Reset period means 6 monthly period where you need to make a payment. So first half, second half, third half, and the details for the fourth half is not given to you, and you have to ignore that, since you can clearly see that 4 semi-annual periods are there, but the details for only 3 have been given to us in the question. So what we are going to do? We are going to divide this 1,50,000 in these 3 periods. That's what the logic is. That's what the trick is. Most of the students will forget that and they will compare 1,50,000 with the 3 periods. No, sir. The 1,50,000 pound of premium that you are paying today is for all the reset periods. Question has clearly said that entire reset periods. But question has purposefully, deliberately, question has skipped that 4th reset period. So what exactly it wants you to do is, you have to convert the lump sum premium that you are making here into every semi-annual premium, so that you can compare the cash flow of this with the premium of that point, cash flow or payoff of this with the premium of that point itself. Got it? The only thing is, you cannot compare 1,50,000 with all the payoffs that you are going to receive from these 3 reset period, because 1,50,000 is for 4 reset periods. You cannot simply divide 1,50,000 by 4, because there is something called as time value of money. Yes, but you have to convert that 1,50,000 into equal annual figure, or we can say equal semi-annual figure. That's called as annuity. In this question we will call it as semi-annuity. Okay, we already know the formula to calculate the premium for every reset period, 4 premium. That will be the same figure out of that 1,50,000, because we know that 1,50,000 cannot be used here. So there are few calculations that you need to understand, and before moving over, let's first complete the question. The good part is that your strike rate was 8%, right? And in all the reset period, the LIBOR is going beyond 8%. So this is spot rate, this is strike rate, 8. Let me just do some calculations here quickly. 8, and 8. So there will be an exercise. The option will be exercised in all the 3 cases, and there will be a payoff of 1%, 1.5% and 2%. But please understand, all the reset periods are half yearly period, and all the rates are per annum and per annum. So for half year it will be 0.5%, 0.75% and 1%, half of these payoff, and these percentages will be applicable on 15 million. So when you apply 0.5% on 15 million, it will give you 75,000 payoff. 0.75%, 1,12,500, and 1%, 1,50,000. So this is the payoff that you are going to receive, my friend. And for that purpose, you paid a premium, but you paid the premium of 1,50,000 for all the 4 periods, right? If you have to calculate the premium for all the reset period, how are you going to convert that 1,50,000? It's very, very easy. Let me just explain that to you. Forget about this formula that the institute has given. Don't use it. Don't try to use it even. I will just give you a simple formula for that. And you will feel that, okay, thank God we have taken the classes. Otherwise, where would I have got this formula or the shortcut from this? So 1,50,000 is practically the premium you will pay on this date. But for solving this question, we cannot compare the 1,50,000 only for 3 reset periods, because 1,50,000 is for 4 reset periods, and the institute or the question has skipped the 4th part. So what are we going to do? We are going to convert this 1,50,000, that if we would have paid the premium on every reset date, what would have been that amount? It will be A. And it's very simple, sir. present value of all the annuities or the semi annuities should come to 1,50,000. And the rate of interest is 7%, which is already given in the question. That is fixed rate of interest. There is no use of 7% other than this. Other than this, there is no use of 7%. And please understand, all these are half year periods. So what are you going to do? 3.5% will be your discounting rate, my friend, because you are discounting it by half year. See, from this to this, only 6 months are there. So half year. From this to this, 6 months and 6 months. So this is how you are going to calculate. So present value of annuity, semi-annuity, is equal to semi-annuity multiplied by present value annuity factor, semi-annuity factor at 3.5%. You need to be aware of this. Don't make a mistake of taking 7% there for 4 periods. Okay, for 4 periods. Sir, why are you taking 4 reset period when the question has given us the data for only 3? See, 1,50,000 is paid for 4 periods, man. So we will calculate the annuity, but then we will restrict our calculation afterwards to this point. What's the problem in that? Okay, let's do that. So this is 1,50,000. This is what we have to calculate. I will just keep A here. And 3.5%. Do you know how to calculate the annuity with 3.5% for 4? 1 divided by 1.035, then equal to M plus, equal to M plus, equal to M plus, equal to M plus, MRC. The rate is 3.6731. Now you can easily calculate the premium for every reset period is 1,50,000 divided by 3.6731. The answer is 40,837. And make sure you round it off, because the question has clearly mentioned that figures at each stage up to 4 decimal and amount in pound nearest to the pound. So don't try to take it in decimal. So 40,837 is your premium amount if there would have been a obligation to pay it on every reset date. So 4837, 4837 and 4837 will be an outflow, and this 75, 112 and 150 is an inflow. So the last table to compare with every figure is this. Understand. Additional interest due to rise in interest rate. You paid additional amount of this much and you will receive amount received from bank. What are you going to call it? You will say amount received rather from option seller. Received from option seller, because the interest rate has gone beyond the limit. They should have made a created 2 more columns here with the LIBORs, current LIBOR, and the comparison. So let me do that for you. 9, 9.5 and 10, right? 9, 9.5 and 10. So the calculation of all these figures have been given on the previous page. Premium paid to bank. So practically speaking, we are paying the premium at the upfront. So it is not a premium paid to bank. It's not paid to bank on every reset period. Premium for every reset period, we can call it like that. But saying that we are paying the premium on every reset date is wrong, because in reality, the premium is paid at the very beginning, only upfront. So instead of writing premium paid to bank, it should have been premium for every reset period. This is proper. This does not mean that we are making the payment. This means that we have just calculated the premium as in we would have, we had the obligation to pay it on reset period. So this is inflow, this is outflow, this is inflow. So this is payoff, this is expense, and you can clearly see that this is what you have received by paying this much. So the total that you have received, the net amount that you have received is 214.917. Had you not taken this cap option, you would have lost 337,500, or to be very specific, 214,917, 214,917, or 2,14,917 pound is what you saved through this cap option. Obviously you have received this much, but you paid also for that. So the only amount that you saved is 214.97. Although we cannot do the total of all this, still it's just a analysis. Thus from above it can be seen that the interest rate risk amount of 337,500 is reduced by 2,14,917. It is reduced by this much. That means the only loss is this 122,583. Okay, sir. Alternatively, if this is another type of calculation, 4837. See, the way I have calculated it comes to 4837. It's the same as it is. Why the answer is different? It's because of the 4 decimals that they have asked at every point, and what we have done is the altogether a separate formula for the same thing. I hope you understood the question. The major point to understand in this entire question is why. When the question clearly says that the lump sum premium is 1% for all the period, then why the question is calculating the premium amount for all the reset periods? That's the major reason. The reason is the 1,50,000 was for 4 reset periods, and in the question only 3 were given. So in order to compare, we cannot use 1,50,000 for the 3 reset periods. We cannot compare 1,50,000 entirely for the 3 reset periods. That's why we converted that into a premium for every reset period. That's it. And the calculation is very simple. It's the present value of annuity. 1,50,000 is today's figure. We have to calculate the future value for all the reset periods. We have discussed this in the time value of money lecture. Present value of annuity is equal to annuity multiplied by annuity factor. Okay, sir. Next question. This is the question based on the collar strategy, and you are going to enjoy that. Have a look. See, XYZ Incorporation issues a 10 million floating rate loan on July 1, 2016 with resetting of coupon rate every 6 months. So every 6 months you have to make a payment which is equal to LIBOR plus 50 basis point. LIBOR point L plus 0.50. Okay. Again, I am repeating the same thing. There cannot be hedging against 0.50 because that is fixed. No one can do the hedging against this. Hedging can be done only against something which is uncertain, unknown at this date, which is LIBOR. Okay, XYZ is interested in a collar strategy. Collar strategy can only be created by 2 different options. You can buy cap, sell floor, or sell cap, buy floor. There cannot be a collar strategy of buy cap, buy floor, sell cap, sell floor. Why? The question is why? Collar strategy doesn't mean the combination of the collar and floor, cap and floor only. It means that if you are expecting the interest rate to move in one direction, you cannot buy both the options or sell both the options. Because buying cap option means you want to put a upper limit, buying floor option means you want to put a lower limit. Why would you do that? What is your expectation of interest rate? Whether it is going to rise or fall. In this case, it means you are expecting both the things. It can rise also, it can fall also. So you are doubtful of your expectations. Okay. So by selling a floor and buying a cap. So I think this is what he has chosen. By selling a floor and buying a cap. You tell me, if someone is selling a floor and buying a cap option, what is his expectation of the interest rate? The expectation is to rise. And if the risk is interest rate will rise, that means he is a borrower. Very simple. If someone gives me this much of the data now only, I can tell that whether the person is borrower or investor, whether he is expecting the rise in interest rate or fall in the interest rate. Buying a cap option, that means you want to protect See, buying a cap option, that means you want to protect from rising interest rate, whereas you want to earn premium by selling floor. No person in the hedging category will sell option. And if you are selling option, that means you are purely speculating on this price. And you will speculate only when you are confirmed that the interest rate will go exactly opposite to this. You are selling the floor to someone, that means someone else is buying the floor. True? If someone else is buying the floor, that means he is expecting the prices to go down. And if he is expecting the prices to go down, you are expecting the prices to go up. What exactly you are doing? You are just taking an undue advantage of his knowledge. Because according to you, the prices are surely going to rise. And if some person is saying that I'm worried about the falling prices, you will be like, falling prices? I am worried about the rising prices, and I have the data, man. I have the calculations that the prices are the rates are going to rise. And if you are worried about the falling prices, just do one thing. If you are worried about the falling interest rate, take the floor option from me. I know. When I am offering this floor option to him, I will be the seller of the floor, he will be the buyer of the floor. I knew one thing very straightforward, that this option that he is buying, he might think that I got an insurance, but this option will never be exercised. He will never come to me to exercise this option because the interest rates are going to rise. His option will get lapsed. The only purpose of selling floor is to earn the premium. That's it. Hedging is done when you buy option, not when you sell option. So when you are buying a cap option, the risk is the rise in interest rate. And who will be scared of the rise in interest rate? Borrower or investor? Borrower. So you are the borrower in this question. But what you are doing is, at the time you are doing hedging as well as speculating. So you are trying to get the benefit of by selling floor, and on the other side you are hedging yourself as well. Okay. XYZ buys a 3 years cap and sells 3 years floor as per the following details. You can see the notional principal amount is $10 million. The reference rate is 6 months LIBOR. That means you are going to compare this LIBOR with the strike rate. The strike rate for floor is 4% and the cap is 7%. That means, please understand, you have a short position in the floor and a long position in the cap. So there can only be, either the cash flow will be zero to both of you, or there will be a receipt, or in this case there will be only payment, which we can say loss and profit. To the seller of the floor, to any option, there can only be loss or zero at the expiry. And to the buyer, there can only be profit or zero. That's why he is paying the premium, right? So if the reference rate, which is LIBOR, goes below 4%, you will have to make the payment, because you have sold the floor option to someone. Someone else has the right to get the profit if the LIBOR goes below 4% because of the floor. If it goes beyond 7%, you will be gaining from the transaction. Okay, we'll see to that. Premium is $0. Why? Because the premium paid for cap and the premium received for floor was equal. This is called as zero cost collar strategy. Using the following data, you are required to determine effective interest paid out at each reset date. Effective means after adjusting the receipt from the cap option and payment for the floor option, if any. The average overall effective rate of interest per annum. Okay. The very first thing, understand. The LIBORs are like this. Okay. There will be three things. On every reset date, three things will happen. First, you will make a payment of interest to the bank because you have borrowed money from the bank. And that will be LIBOR plus 0.50. And that too for only 6 months. Understand. So calculate it per annum, but then you have to convert it in half yearly. After that, there will be some cap receipt if it is going to be exercised, and it is going to be exercised only when it is above 7%, which is only this case. Other than that, no reset date or no LIBOR is going beyond 7%. Okay, so there will not be a cash flow in rest of the cases. And the third thing is floor payment. You will also settle floor option, but you will have a payment in that because you are a seller of the floor. You have sold it to someone else, the buyer will always have a receipt. And this is effective interest paid out at each reset date. Now understand, the notional principal amount is 10 million. Okay. So you will do all the calculations on 10 million. Now, on 31st December 2016, 6% was the LIBOR. So what will be the interest payment? 6.5%. Am I right? 6.5 on 10 million. Now, there is one important thing that you need to understand. In nowhere in the question that they have mentioned whether we have to do the calculation based on 365 days or 12 months. So if there is nothing specified in the question, make sure you do it whatever you want according to days or months, but please put a note in the answer, because institute have given wrong answers many times when someone has taken months, and in the days also they have given wrong answers. I don't know why. Okay, so if we go and look at the answer by the institute, we can say that they have calculated days, not in months. So it's very important for the institute to be very specific in the question whether we have to take the days or months. Okay, so today it's I think July 1 2016. Okay, from July 1 if we start calculating, so July has 31 days. July is the 7th month, right? 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 and 12. So 31 days in July, 31 days in August, 30, 31, 30, 31. So let's do the total. 31, 31, 30, 31, 30, 31. That comes to 184 days, right? But 2016 was the leap year, I think. That's okay. And for the first 6 months, it is going to be January, February, March, April, May, June. So January, February, March, April, May, June. Am I right? That's 181 days. So this is how you are going to treat all the 4 years, all the reset period. 184, 184, 184 when it was from July to December. 181, 181 and 182 in 2019. Why 182? 2019 was not a leap year. If it would have been a leap year, then this is right, but according to me this is wrong. So 182 practically I feel is wrong, but let's do that. Let's take 4, 5, 4, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. Yeah, they have taken it like this. Very less. Okay, doesn't matter. This is going to be a ambiguous part forever. Okay, the interest will be like this. How are you going to calculate? For the first 6 months, it is going to be 184 days. So 10 million into 6.5%. That comes to 6,50,000. So 6,50,000 into 184 divided by 365. Let me try. It comes to 322, 630. Huh? $327, 671. Right. My calculations were wrong. 327, 671. This is the interest that I will pay to the bank. So the first column is related to the bank. how much interest I am going to pay. Calculate simply 10 million into this much, 10 million into LIBOR plus 0.5, that is 6.5%. Okay, don't calculate 6%, it's 6.5% into 184 divided by 365. In the similar way, you are going to calculate for all the reset periods the interest which is payable to the bank. Now comes the main part. Cap receipt is, the strike rate is 7% here, the strike rate is 4% here, and the only receipt will be at this particular point. How much? 0.5%, because the LIBOR has gone only 0.5% beyond 7. So 0.5% will be the receipt. But please understand, 7% is per annum, 7.5% is per annum. So this will also be per annum. That means we have to convert that. When you multiply 10 million into 0.5%, that comes to 50,000. That 50,000 multiplied by 184 divided by 365 will come to 24,795. This is the receipt that you will receive. Okay. In all the other cases, the rate is, LIBOR is not going beyond 7%, so there will not be any payoff. In all the other cases, cap option will lapse. Cool. Let's look at the floor option. You can clearly see that only once again this is happening, that the rate LIBOR is going below 4%. And if it is going below 4%, there will be an outflow to you. This is a loss to you because you are the seller. But that too also for per annum, 0.25%. So we are going to convert that into 184 days. Okay. So what will be the cash flow? What will be the calculation? It's very simple, sir. 10 million into 0.25% into 184 divided by 365. 12,603. I have one request to you guys. Please go through this question from any of the material, RTP May 14, 19, MTP, practice manual, whatever available to you, and have a look on this question whether they have taken 181 days or 182 days here. According to me, it should be 181 days. I don't know why they have taken 182, because this is not even a leap year. Into 181 by 365 into 4.75%, that's 235547. Yeah, they have taken it as 182 days. Whatever it is. So effective interest rate will be this. This is your outflow, interest paid to the bank. This is your outflow. This is your inflow because it is a cap receipt, and this is again outflow. So you will deduct the cap receipt from this and add the floor payment because both of them are outflow, and then the total will be written in the last column. If you do the total of the last column, it will come to 1663,698. Let me just do it because in the previous compiler it was wrong calculation. And I think we have made the corrections this time. So 1663,698. Okay. 1663,698 on 10 million into 365 divided by 1096 days. See, this is for 1096 days now. So you want to convert that back to 1 year, that is 365 days, and the rate is 5.54% per annum. They only asked us to calculate average annual effective rate. So average is simple average that they have done, not the effective rate or the time value of money. So forget about the time value of money, just divide it in 3 years. So this is how you have to calculate. I think you're okay with this. The last question on the cap and floor option, and this is very interesting part. Easy one also. Have a look. ABC Limited is raising a loan at a floating rate of LIBOR plus 20 basis point, L plus 0.20. It anticipates a rise because it is raising a loan. The risk is the rise in the interest rates. I told you maximum time the question is about the borrowings in interest rate and is considering hedging against the interest rate risk. What will you buy in order to hedge the increase in interest rate? The only thing that you should buy is cap option. But if you are a little greedy, you will also sell floor. You will obviously buy the cap option in order to hedge. But since you are expecting the rise in the interest rate, you are pretty much sure that the interest rates are not going to fall, and you're going to take the benefit of such a person who believes the interest rates are going to fall. Exact opposite expectation. The only thing that you will do is sell the floor to him and make him believe that you are now protected, pay the premium. The only greed in that is the premium amount. The loan is to be raised on 1 year 1 and expected LIBOR for next 2 year with a break of 6 months are given to you. These are the LIBOR, and please ensure that the protection or the hedging cannot be done against the 20 basis point which is fixed. Hedging is done against only variable part which is unknown, that is LIBOR. Following hedging strategies have been suggested. First thing, a 2-year cap option 5.5% against a premium of 0.5%. So if you buy a cap option, the limit is 5.5. You will only receive payment. There will only be a payoff if the spot rate goes beyond this strike rate, goes above this strike rate. So you can clearly see that only once this is happening. 5.5 not exercised because this is also 5.5. 7, yes, it will be exercised. So what will happen? 1.5% will be your payoff receipt, and 0.5% will be your premium that you are paying. Premium will be paid in all the cases, no matter whether you are exercising the option or not. Again, one more thing. There are 3 things that will happen. Let me just complete. First, you will pay to the bank the interest that the bank deserves because you are borrowing, you are the borrower. So what will happen? The bank payment will be LIBOR plus 20 basis point. To the bank you will pay 5.7, 20 basis point more than this, 7.2, 5.7, 3.7. Am I right? Add 20 basis point in this. Then there will be some cap receipt. And in this case, the cap of 5.5 will be compared with this. No, not exercised, exercised and received 1.5%, not exercised, not exercised. Irrespective of what are the LIBORs, the premium that you will pay is 0.5% in all the cases. Now don't say that the premium will be paid only at the upfront. It is to be compared with all the reset periods. I am taking it as the premium paid on every reset date. And this is going to be the net cost to you. Please understand that the interest that you are paying to the bank is an outflow, the cap receipt is an inflow, and the premium is also outflow. So the net cost to you is like this, 6.20, 6.20, 6.20, 4.2. So you have ensured yourself that the cost to you will not go beyond 6.20%, which is the total of 5.5, 0.5 and 20 basis point. That was the for sure cost for us. 5.5 premium and that. It will not go beyond this. It can go below this. So that is the net cost in the first option. Now the second option, a 2-year zero cost collar. Now tell me one thing. With a cap and floor option, they have not mentioned whether you have to buy the cap or sell the cap, and buy the floor and sell the floor. Now you have to use your brains. There are only 2 collars which are possible. Please understand. One is buy cap, sell floor, and the other one is sell cap, buy floor. Who is going to buy this one? Who is going to do this one? Buy this collar. Simply speaking, focus on the buying option. Buying option means protecting yourself. Selling option is just a speculation. So in this case, you have bought a cap option, and in this case, you have bought a floor option. When do you think you will buy a cap option? When you have the risk of rise in interest rate. When you will think you will buy a floor option? When you have a risk of the fall in interest rate. Rise in interest rate is the risk to the borrower, my friend, and fall in the interest rate is the risk to the investor or depositor. In this question, we are the borrower. So this is the situation that we are going to take. So this is how you have to analyze. So the cap option, the limit for the cap is 6.5 and floor is 4.5. So understand, if the LIBOR goes beyond 6.5, you will get a receipt, cash inflow. But if the rate goes below 4.5, you will have to make a payment because you are the seller in the floor option. You are not a buyer, you are the seller. So you have protected someone else from the fall. And if the rates are going below 4.5, you will have a loss. Now, let's have a look. Do you think any of the rate is going above 6.5? Yes, sir. This is the only rate which is going above 6.5, and you will have a 0.5% of receipt in this case. And any rate which is going below 4.5, yes, sir. This is the rate which is going below 4.5, and there will be loss of 1% to you. 3.5 minus 4.5. On all the other cases, there is no exercise of the option. So, let me just complete the question now. Find out the overall cost to the company for each 6 months period for the year 1 and 2 in the following situation. If no hedging is taken up, if you don't take the hedging, then this is your final outflow. This plus 20 basis point, 5.7, 7.2, 5.7, 3.7. 5.7, 7.2, 5.7, 3.7. Add 20 basis point, pay the interest to bank, the story is over because you have not taken any kind of cap, floor, collar. You don't have to make the premium payment also and no payoffs also. So this is the simple enough, and the average of this is given here. Need not be taken. Second is, if you buy the cap option, this is going to be your cash flows, net cost. The interest that you will pay to the bank, receipt from the cap, and the premium that you paid. 6.2, 6.2, 6.2 and 4.2. 6.2, 6.2, 6.2 and 4.2. What will happen in the last part? It's very simple, sir. Just add one more column in between this, which will be floor payment. Floor payment. But the strike price is different in this case. It was 5.5 in the previous case, it is 6.5. So instead of 1.5% of the gain, it will just be a 1%. Let's just take it. So what will happen? See, this column will be same because you have to pay interest no matter whether you take the hedging or not, do the hedging or not. Now comes to the cap option. 6.5% is the strike rate, and only at this point it is going beyond, LIBOR is going beyond 6.5. So in case of buy cap, 0.5 inflow, 0 and 0. This is how it is going to be. But in case of selling floor, this is the case where it is going below 4.5. You can see 4.5% is the strike rate for floor and 3.5% has the rate. So 0, 0, 0 and -1. Okay. And the next column is of the premium, but it will be 0 because it is a zero cost collar. Whatever you received by selling the floor is paid in buying the cap option. So this is how you are going to make it. So what you have to do is at the end 5.7 minus this plus this, because bank's payment is outflow, floor is outflow, this is a receipt. That's it. Let's wrap up. You can see that 5.7 is cash outflow, this is cash inflow, this is cash outflow. So 3.7 and 1 is added, 4.7, 5.7, 6.9, the total average is this. Suggestion: company should not hedge interest rate risk as the average cost is least if no hedging is done. That's the matter. After doing all this exercise and you are saying that we are not going to take it. 5.575 is the average, 5.7 is the average cost annual, and 5.7 here as well. So no hedging is preferable to you because the cost is least in that case. It means that you're not getting benefit by making a payment for premium. Premium cost is higher than the benefit of cap and floor. These are the students' note. You can take it or leave it. From the next question, we are going to start, from the next lecture, we are going to start with question number 27. I think one question is still there related to swapping, which will be taken at the end. So from this part, we will start with the swap options, okay, interest rate swaps. And this is the fourth derivative after forward rate agreement, after futures, interest rate futures, after cap, collar and floor options. We have completed the 3 types. Now is the time for the last topic of our chapter, swapping. Swaps is used for the purpose of hedging as well, and we are going to complete the questions after discussion of the concept. So I will take a break and I will be back with the concept of swapping. It's very easy. See you.